So, Mr. Money, you're one of the very rare guests who come on my podcast where I actually have had quite a few conversations with you, and I feel like I kind of know you. But then I realized that I don't actually know what you were like as a child. You grew up, spent your whole life in KL. Who were you back then?
Actually, I did not grow up in KL exactly.
Oh no, I started off with the wrong fact. It's not good.
But close enough, close enough. What happened was when I was a kid, apparently my parents actually moved down to Kajang.
Okay.
Yeah, so I actually lived my childhood there between 1 year all the way until 9 years old.
Honestly, I always think that, this is just KL.
From 9 years old onwards, only we moved to PJ. And the interesting thing is, I found out later was that they actually moved down to Kajang because they were running away from debtors. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And was this after your father had become bankrupt? Because he used to have money, right? He used to own several buildings as well.
He used to be a developer or contractor, a B-grade contractor. So basically, if you go to PJ, you will actually see like Yuk Chai and surrounding there's some houses. Some of those properties there, he was the main contractor. Yeah, so he was doing very well, but that was way before I was born. And that time, I think it's in the 1960s, 70s. That was the time that he was doing very well. But by about late 70s to about 80s, probably things were not doing well anymore, and he just went really down. Yeah. And that's when they start moving down to Kajang.
Were you aware that debtors were after your family? I mean, I think when you were 8, 9, you shared your mom used to buy leftover food to bring home.
So I think the good thing about being young when you're poor and you're young is you actually don't really understand what's happening, right? You do kind of know that like you may not be doing very well, but it kind of doesn't really mean anything. And the fact that your parents or your mom goes to the market after the hours and getting leftover food to bring home for us.
Yeah.
For me, I didn't feel anything because I would be happy not eating. I just want to play, right? I was a kid. Yeah. But for my elder sister, that meant something to them. And this became like stories that they would talk about in the family. And so since young, you hear a lot of stories among the family that like things are not doing very well, family is very poor, we do not have enough money and stuff like that. Yeah.
Didn't your dad used to say money isn't important?
Yes. So because my dad went through a bankruptcy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and he has gone through so much, right? And you know how when you're doing well, a lot of people are your friends, but at the moment you go bankrupt, friends start moving away, keeping a distance from you. And how it was like for him was that he learned that at the moment you have no money, people that you even helped before will not help you back. They wouldn't even care. It's not their problem. And so my dad always say this thing, ultimately money is not too important. What's more important in life is relationship. And so I kind of grew up with that saying, right? So I always thought that money is not too important. As long as you have enough, you can spend a bit, you can eat. Well, it's fine. Yeah, that's how I would think when I was younger.
So speaking of relationships, what was it like within your family? Because you mentioned elder sister, but you had an elder brother you never met before.
Yes, yeah, I've only seen his pictures. So a brief history about the Yong family.
Let's go in depth.
Yeah. So my mom and dad had a huge age gap. Yeah, when my mom married my dad, he was starting to go bankrupt. Yeah, things weren't doing very well in the company. Yeah, and after they got a kid, and stuff like that. But my mom only wanted two child, right? So there was the elder brother and my elder sister. And what happened was my eldest brother at the age of 12, he went swimming with his friends and my cousin in a mining pool. That time, mining pool was still like the thing around, right? You would have seen Sunway Pyramid. Pyramid was actually a mining pool as well during that time. So they went to Sungai Way there and they swam. And what happened was that most of them drowned, except one kid. And the story was, this kid, after he got out of the pool, he went home and he was so afraid that the parents would scold him. So he didn't say anything. He only waited until dinner time when everyone started calling. and asked, where are my kids? They played together, where are my kids?
Oh my
Then he started crying. They say that only I got out. So by night, when they all went to the pool, all of them were drowned.
Oh no.
Yeah. So it was a devastating time for my mom, for my dad. Yeah. And they kind of took a break off. And that made his business went even further down the drain. And that's one of the reasons they moved down to Kajang at the time, because they wanted to leave this place to give themselves a break. And at the same time, the business wasn't doing well and things are winding up already. So they decided, let's just leave this place and go somewhere else.
Yeah. But you still came into the picture.
Yes. So what happened was, after that incident, they decided that they want to get another son, right? So they tried and they got my sister and they still didn't get a son. So they say, let's try again. Yeah. And they got me. So I grew up with this story knowing that I had an elder brother who passed away. And my mom always say that we gave birth to you because we wanted a son, someone to carry on the Yong surname. Yeah. So that was something that I always grew up with.
Yeah.
So since young, I knew very well one thing. Try not to die because you are the only Yong left. And they already had a son who passed away. So it's going to be devastating. And the second thing is that you are a replacement, right?
Yeah.
You are here to replace another son. Yeah.
That must have affected how you felt about yourself as well.
Oh, yeah. So
self-worth.
since young, I grew up with very low self-esteem. So here's where one thing differs, right? A lot of people say like, Peter, you're so full of confidence, right? Man, you don't know the things I've been through, man. Like when I was young, it's really bad in terms of confidence. Yeah. I never had that confidence because the very simple fact is that whenever your friends talk about family, everything, number one, your family is already poorer than people. Number two, your only reason of existence that you know of is to be a replacement son. Yeah. My parents is fantastic. My mom treated me so well, but it's just these little words that accumulated to become something that mattered to me. And she didn't know that, right? Yeah, but she's wonderful mother. Yeah, to put it out there, wonderful mother, wonderful father, right?
Yeah, they didn't have access to kind of parenting manuals and guides we have now.
Yeah. And my dad was odd. I tell you. So what happens then? Okay, so this side I didn't tell you earlier.
Okay, share it now.
So actually, my dad was a very inspiring figure, right? He was 68 when I passed away at 14. So he went through the World War II period. Yeah, he worked for the Japanese at the age of 4 years old, tying up ropes on the boat and stuff like that. And his story is one sad story, right? He never go to school. He was working at 4 years old to support the family. And because his mother hated him, favored the elder brother better. So the elder brother didn't need work, but at 4 he had to work and stuff like that. Okay, but to cut the whole story short, he grew up being kind of like a gangster. And he was well known as a gangster, but he was also those MCA chairperson for a local place. And during the 60s, 50s, the gangster thing and the politic things are very much tied together. So he was during those times. Yeah. Right? He actually went to jail in Singapore. Yeah, for killing someone over self-defense.
Oh wow.
Yes. So he is known to be a guy that you don't mess with in the gangster world. And he has a gun. He has a handgun. Okay, he has a handgun. Yeah. So it is not. So I grew up at like 5 years old washing a handgun. Okay. Yeah, I know how to clean a gun. I know how to unload a gun.
You were trusted with a handgun?
Okay, this shouldn't go out, right? It's so far off, right? Yeah. So much in the past, right? Wow. So he would show me how to clean a handgun. We had a shotgun. And for me, it was like toy, right? It's so fun. You get to play with a handgun. Who gets to play with a handgun? As I grew up, I learned that actually it means a lot to have a handgun. Only Tan Sris get handgun or Datuk Sris get handgun, okay? Yeah. And even,
am I a secret Tan Sri son?
Yeah. So whenever he goes out, when he holds the gun, some people think that you are super rich, right? And I recall we go and eat in this bak kut teh shop last time, where what happened was this guy would buy us dinner because he would say that, like, your dad used to come to our bak kut teh shop and he would talk to the gangsters because they have gangs, right? Rivalry gangs. And he would talk. He would just slam the gun on the table and everyone would be just so silent. So he thought that was so heroic. So every time we go there and makan, he would pay for a meal, right? Yeah. But my point is that my dad had a very, very unique way of teaching his kids.
Yeah.
So when I was young, I got bullied in school. I have this getting bullied face, right?
Oh.
Yeah, I always get bullied and somehow. So I got bullied in school. I went back, I told my dad and mom. And usually our parents would be like, hey, let me do something about it and stuff like. My dad scolded me. Like, he shouted at me. He said, how can you allow anyone to bully you? If you don't step up and fight back, don't call me your father. Yeah, that's literally what I cried in the car. I still remember.
How old are you?
I was like 9 years old.
Oh no.
But it's a very loving dad. It's just
Tough love.
tough love. And that was his way when he grew up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to protect yourself. So he felt that there's that need to teach me that. But unfortunately, I wasn't very strong. So when I heard that, I immediately felt that, like, I don't think my dad loves me.
So you didn't figure out how to beat the bullies?
No.
Oh, no.
I learned how to survive with bullies.
Okay.
But I did not went the hard approach and fight back. Yeah. But I learned to just play around, go with it, so that I become kind of like a friend, but not too much of a friend as well. Yeah, so you just get bullied slightly lesser. Yeah.
So your dad sounds like this larger than life character, and he passed away when you were 14. So that must have had a huge impact on you.
Unfortunately, during that time, no. But now, whenever I look back, especially now I have kids, there's much more feelings and emotions about it. But when I was during that time, no. When he passed away, in fact, the first thought that came into my mind was,
I'm free.
Maybe the family need to spend less money.
Very practical.
yeah. Because what happened was that my dad enjoyed playing mahjong and he smokes a lot. So my mom used to complain that, like, hey, he's spending too much money on that. Yeah. So somehow immediately my thoughts were, like, since it's like that, we save more money. Yeah, that immediately came to my mind. And remember that incident I told you? So that made me feel that my dad probably didn't love me too much. So I also wasn't too affected by it. Yeah, so I was very much more closer to my mom. But for my sisters, it was devastating. And when I grew up older, when I was 18 years old, 19 years old, 20, I started to understand things better. So about 21, that was the first time that I cried for him. Yeah. That when I looked at that whole incident back again, and I started crying so hard because for the first time I felt that I lost him. Yeah, but during that time, when he passed, until I was older, it's just meh.
Yeah. Is there a reason why at 21 you felt that?
So at that age, actually, I started going to church. I became a Christian. So, there's all these Christian camps
you
and all.
have to look into you.
Yeah, so he started doing all this soul searching kind of thing. And then they talked about relationship with family. So it was a 1-week camp
that's intense.
That really focuses on your mind, your perspective of things and where it came out from. And that day, they just brought up the topic about parents. My goodness, I sobbed for like 2 hours.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and now being a dad, I can understand what he went through. Yeah.
When you cried for the first time, do you feel like there was a burden that lifted off you, that you looked at life a little bit different?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it felt good. I think it kind of like there was a combination of forgiving what he have said before or what has happened, and at the same time, also this acknowledgement that I was loved. Yeah, and I miss that opportunity to hang out with him. Yeah. And
this was when you were at Damansara University.
So this was when I was in UPM already. I was studying in a university. Yeah. So there was this like camps and stuff like that. So yeah.
And did you have an idea what you wanted to do with your life at that point?
I think I was one of those intense child back in university. I did so in terms of career choices. I think here's where, right, a lot of people like to have this idea that I should know what am I supposed to be doing with my life.
Well, we have to choose something.
Yes, and we are so afraid that we choose something wrong, right? Yeah, and I mean, I've gone through that. I recall in my final year in university, I cried as well. Yeah, so you won't know how much I've cried. Yeah, so I cried a lot actually, right? Yeah. So I was talking to my juniors about like where things are gonna be. I cried because it was just a lot of pressure, and there was this whole question about will I be able to do well, and stuff like that. Even if I choose the path, and am I in the right place and stuff. But coming today, I've kind of realized that there's no such thing as one version of yourself that can do well. You just need to sail through life, but you need to sail through in a more conscious manner. And at that point, I've always wanted, I still recall at that time, I've always wanted to go into Accenture as a consultant. I always thought that I want to do something strategic because it's cool, right? You always watch movie, you hear people talk about it, like, wow, and it pays so good.
Yes.
Right, 4,000, 5,000 at least. I think, wow, very, very good. But unfortunately, I don't think I'm smart enough. So I sent in some application and things like that. I couldn't get in. I went into eventually I got an offer into Genting. It was my first job interview. I was recruited on the spot. Then I got in and I became a HR in organization and development.
Yeah.
Something like that lah. OD lah. Yeah. They call it OD at that time. Yeah. So that was what I got. But in just 3 to 6 months, I left the job.
Yeah. I mean, when you entered, you were talking about wanting to be a management consultant. And that's also because you had a mindset shift around money. At the time, you thought money is evil. And then you changed that thought, right?
Yes.
What happened there?
Okay. So as I was mentioning when I was younger,
Yeah.
I've gone through a childhood where I understand the lack of money is how. And I understood certain principles in money. Like, for example, at one point, remember I told you my dad was from a gangster background, right?
Yeah.
So at one point when the family was very poor, there was one night they actually went out at about 11 something of this very intense conversation with a group of people somewhere a little bit further down from our house. And apparently it was some gangs who came over and they wanted my dad to help out in some illegal business.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it involves prostitution. Yeah, and it was good money.
Yeah.
So my dad came in. He didn't tell us anything, but he told my mom.
Yeah.
And he said that, no, I can't do that even though he earns money because it's just not right. Yeah. So ever since young as well, I got implanted with some good values, right? But nonetheless, I still feel that money is all evil. Yeah. And mainly one thing I realized why I feel money was evil later was I just had no money and I didn't know how to get it. So I felt it was evil. So it's more of a sour grape situation, right? Yeah. So as I grew up, I wanted to do NGO, NPO. I wanted to do more greater works for the humanity kind of thing that doesn't include money. But somehow I got into UPM and I got this course that is business management and human development. Basically, it's a combination of social science and business. But the name of the course was Human Development Management. So I thought it was psychology. So I'm not very smart. I can tell you I failed in my studies back then.
I wouldn't have known what
Yeah,
it was
because it
about.
says Human Development Management, right? So I thought like, oh, sounds psychology-ish, right? And I was just telling my mom I would never do a business course. But because of our family background, the only rule is you go into public U because there's no money is send you to any other universities.
And they always said that to you, right? So you
Yes,
knew.
since young. Since at a very young age, my mom always say, complete your studies, go to a public university. Preferably UPM because it's nearer and easy, or either UM, right? So just choose whatever that allows you to get in. So when I was in Form 5, when all my friends are busy deciding what to do in life, I was super relaxed, I was just thinking about what to play next because the path was already laid down for me. I already know where to go next. Not in a very good way, right? In a way, but like, I didn't have a worry, For me, it was just, whatever university can throw me, just go. So I always come from a very, very lack of resource mindset. You can see that. It's very scarcity kind of mindset, right? It's just whatever thrown to me, just survive, just do it, right? So when I went there, so when I pick up this particular course, the first day, they told me that I need to pick my courses in the business faculty. I was like, huh? Business faculty? I thought I chose human development psychology. Then they say, oh no, the management means business management. So I was like, oh, now I get it. Okay lah, never mind lah. Beggars are no choosers. I already got in the course, so let's go on with it. Yeah. And surprisingly, when I started reading up about businesses, when I started studying about all these things, I realized that it is actually quite fun. It is not what I thought it was. I always thought the business is all about money.
Yeah.
I always thought the business is all about making money, earn as much as you can. But at the moment I realized that no, it's actually a skill set. And it's up to you to decide what you want to do with that money. So I start to look at money in a more unemotional manner. I start to disassociate money with my values to a certain extent. Like I just see money as money and my values as my values that determines what I do with my money. Yeah, and I did pretty well actually. In fact, I almost got a first class to graduate.
Yeah.
But the only reason I didn't got my first class was my mathematics subjects. 3 of them I got B- and C.
The fact that you can still remember after all this time.
Yes, because if only I retook those subjects, I wouldn't have needed to pay my PTPTN.
Wow. So I'm surprised you end up doing HR. Why wouldn't you go and take some kind of business development role?
Actually, at that point, because I recall at the moment I left university, I always thought that like, okay, I need to quickly get a job. I probably need to do one thing. I want to get married. At the time I had a girlfriend. So I thought, okay, I want to get married. Right? Next thing is I got to take care of my family because my mom already said at the moment you start working, start paying for household items, right? So each of us contribute a certain portion of our salary for household, right? So I knew that I needed an income immediately. So I started calculating how much do I really need. And I realized that living in KL, in order to get married and just have a very normal, simple life with family, you need probably about 15,000 with your own house.
And you were earning 2,500.
Yeah, I was earning yeah. And so I started looking at different jobs. I applied for Honeywell, Crafts, I still remember Accenture. I tried to apply for Shell, definitely no response. And
all these brands.
And eventually what happened was like, Genting was the first to call me and I got in and the rest start calling me. I was like, I already took up a job offer. So I can't even attend your interview anymore because it would look bad, right? So I just stayed on that. And why did I did human resource was because I was just trying. But what happened is that the role that they specifically put me in was organization development. And I knew that OD was more of a strategic position in HR. So I thought to myself that if I'm not going to be as good as other people from BCG and so on in terms of business strategy, why not pick something that you have a higher chance of being good at, right? So it's kind of like the Malcolm Gladwell's theory of a big fish in a small pond, small fish in a big pond kind of thing, right? So I thought, hey, maybe if I just go into this, at least it gives me a specialization. I can work my way up and be better in one side rather than competing with all the brightest mind out there. Yeah.
But you mentioned 15,000 earlier. You actually had a plan to 6x your income in 6 years. What was the plan?
So what happened is that when I was there, the first thing that I did, I still remember, I knew that it's very important to have good relationship with bosses. So what I did is, I actually interviewed a friend. Yeah, I went there. I straight away called up a friend of mine who actually worked there as a senior, and I asked her how's life there. So I just want to understand, will it be an environment that I'll enjoy? Will the role be some kind of thing that I enjoy? And she gave me a pretty good perspective of it. Now that I think back, she was also trying to tell me what's not so good about it, but I didn't really get it. Yeah, so I'm not that smart, right?
Wasn't aware of the manager.
So she'll try to tell me, hint me, but I didn't quite get it.
Yeah.
So I went in and I built a good relationship with all my colleagues, and the nature of me being from a business background helped me to tie up a lot of details with profit. I can understand bigger picture better. So I noticed that some of my friends who are psychology graduates or just accountant graduates, they were more like siloed with the way they think about things. So naturally, I was considered the slightly the better performer there. And one thing I did very often is I always talk to my senior colleagues to ask them, what is the income raise that can come in, what you should look for in the next 5 years. And you being, now that you go and ask it, if you're a senior, it's very sensitive, right? But when you're a fresh grad asking that, it's not considered sensitive.
Yeah.
So I also took the risk. I was like, you know what? The only time that I can really ask all these questions is as a junior right now, as a fresh grad, because no one will get angry at you. So better ask now. So I started asking everyone.
Yeah.
And to my surprise, that time was a surprise, that it's impossible to get 15,000 after 5 years.
What were we looking at instead?
You're probably going to be looking at 5,000 to 6,000. Yeah, that would be the
Nowhere
average.
near. Yeah.
But yes, there are cases where you get to jump to 15, but it requires you to keep jumping company.
Yes.
And I noticed that it is not just a skill set thing, but also a networking thing. You got to be good at that. Yeah, and as a fresh grad, the chances of you doing that is unless you have a very specialized skill or you work in a very, very big MNC that is known to be good at something. So put it this way, it's like if you go to Unilever and Unilever is known to be the marketing company for FMCG, then whether you're good or bad, you're from there. People can find you.
Yeah.
You know, you get what I mean? So like, since I'm not in that position, I'll likely end up at the average. Yeah. So, I mean, that company wasn't known as a great HR company.
Yeah.
It wasn't known as anything. It was just a Chinaman company. Yeah. So you're not likely going to get that kind of salary. Yeah. So that actually got me really agitated, annoyed, and I started figuring out stuff. And at that point, I started reading a lot more. I started reading, and I realized that the only way that you can do well probably or earn a little bit more money that's fully in your control is you do business. Yeah. Unless, like I say, you are professional, like let's say you're a lawyer, you're a doctor or something like that. You have a more clearer pathway, or your first job is already in consultancy. You have a more clearer pathway to get there. But if you're a generalist like me at the point, you won't be able to get that. It's going to be hard. It's going to be really hard. So then maybe doing business will be a better choice. So I started asking myself this question, can I be a businessman? And when I was reading through a lot of biographies, I always reflect and I ask myself, yeah, these guys are willing to start, like Steve Jobs, have maybe borrowing 10K or 20K from his parents and then starting a computer in his garage, right? I'm thinking to myself, like, if I have 10K, will I actually dare to do that? I probably don't dare. I mean, number one, I don't even have the skill to build a computer, but I probably don't even dare because you come from a background where the first answer to everything is no money. Yeah. So the chances are you won't be able to deal with that kind of mental stress. So at that point, I was approached by insurance agents as usual. Then they started telling me how good the business model is. And I thought to myself, like, well, ever since I was younger, all the part-times that I've done, I did well in the selling part. As much as I hate myself being able to talk, because people always see people talk a lot as annoying. So I didn't like that part about myself, but somehow that's the thing that I've trained myself over the years to be good at. So why not just leverage on that strength? Yeah. I can't be the smartest if I go to Accenture. I can't be the best accountant or business consultant. So since that shows some promising thing, maybe I should try that, right? And I did a calculation of if I were to just follow the system, do A, B, C, D, E, how much money will I make? And true enough, in 6 years, I'll be earning 15 to 20 over K. Yeah. So that was a projection that I got. And I decided that, you know what? let's just give it a go, man. Yeah, you may end up losing your friends, but yeah, at least you make something in your life.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I still recall that what the most important thing at that point was when I was in that company, I actually went to the hospital. I was admitted into hospital because I was working from 8 all the way until 11:30 like that. Yeah, so somehow I had a weak body maybe, so I just went to hospital. It was bad. Admitted for 1 week, and my mom came, and I recall at the time I looked at her, and I was just a little bit shocked, right? She was much older than I remember. And I told myself that if I'm going to continue this, I probably won't have the choice to decide when I want to look at her. Yeah. So I was like, screw it. I think nothing is more important than that. Let me just give this a try. Yeah. And so I put my ego aside. I mean, it's the most ego consuming job. I don't know how to say it. It's the most humiliating job to be in, right? Yeah. And yeah, but I decided to do that and it worked out. Yeah.
Why would you say humiliating?
I think sales is one of the most humiliating job in the world. The reason being is because, I mean, just think about it. If you get a call from a friend out of blue, what's the first thing you think about? He wants to sell me insurance or MLM. Yeah. And it is one of those jobs where you will just avoid that guy, right?
Yeah.
Regardless, you can be the best friend with him, and the fellow will just avoid you after that. And it's real. Like when I started doing insurance, there are friends that I'm very, very close with. There are friends that I've helped before. There are friends who tell you stuff like, we are good friends. One day I'll help you back, okay? And when they know you're an insurance agent, they walk off immediately, stay. They got so busy that they can never pick up the call.
Yeah.
And even, okay, I have to say my approach was not I will always tell people up front that, hey, I would like to meet you. I want to talk about insurance. Are you okay? But if you're not okay, please tell me it's not okay and we won't talk about it. Yeah. So I'm very upfront about that. Yeah. So, but even then, people will still avoid you. And it's not their fault. It's not their fault. Yeah. So it's very humiliating. But again, when you do well, people will all be your friends again.
Yeah.
So you kind of learn that life is just like that. Yeah.
How did you figure out to do well? Because you end up earning what, 250,000 a year. You drove a BMW, so clearly you were thriving.
Yeah.
Even though everyone was avoiding you.
I had a small agency. I wouldn't say everyone was avoiding me at that point. Yeah, but the insurance business made me learn who are friends and who are acquaintances. Yeah, it made me learn that. And there are very good friends that stood by me. And like, for example, Frankie, he's still my friend. He never bought a single policy from me, but he never avoided me.
So he just sat through your whole pitch.
He just told me up front he's not interested. Yeah, I said, I'm not interested, listen to your pitch. But if you want to have a coffee, let's grab a coffee. So we just grab a coffee lah. Yeah. It's honest.
Yeah.
It is non-humiliating because he never did that like, and he started walking off. Yeah, probably he said something at the back with some friends making some jokes sometimes, right? But they don't make me feel like an outcast. Yeah. So I have friends like that. And my method of doing well in insurance was very simple. Just be very sincere. Be much more knowledgeable than anyone else. So unlike other insurance agents, very often they do not know anything except insurance. I made an effort to learn a lot from stocks to everything else, right? Because I felt that it is about learning financial literacy. Only with financial literacy, you will be interested in buying an insurance, right? So if you understand financial literacy, you don't even need me to sell it to you. You will look for me. So I always believe in that idea. So that's why I went into that way of selling. And I was just very honest. Whenever I meet people, I tell them very upfront that, look, when I meet you, I want to talk about this. If you're not comfortable, please tell me you're not comfortable. You can always stop me. And so most people who are okay with that approach will end up meeting me. We still maintain a friendship. They either buy or don't buy. And it's just a numbers game. Yeah. Ultimately, you meet 20 people, there will be 1 or 2 who buy. Yeah. So the question is, how do you get 20 people to meet you? That was the only thing. You just need to get 20 people to meet you and your job is done. So just 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20.
So
And you just repeat that.
How do you get 20 people to meet you?
I do a lot of referrals. Yeah. So the first thing is that when I meet a friend, I tell them the pitch, and then I just tell them up front that, look, whether you buy or not, it doesn't matter, but do you think that this is something worth for someone else to know, right? And if you don't think my approach is annoying, you think it's okay, could you give me a few referrals, right? So they will always give me 2 or 3. So I have this whole book, right, where it's almost 90% filled up. Yeah, I'm not sure if I still kept the book, but the other day I just still saw it.
Black book.
My little, it was a white book. Yeah, but yeah, it was that little book, and that was where I got a lot of contacts. That's where I ended up making a lot of friends.
Yeah.
That's where it helped me to build my insurance business.
Wow. What was the secret to conversing?
I think that when it comes to convincing someone, a lot of people think that it's a lot about you talking. Actually, it's very little about you talking. It is more about you listening. People will only listen to you when they know that you care and you see them for who they are. Not the see them for who they are naked, that kind of,
Yes,
that kind of like
I
too
feel
vulnerable.
seen, you care
Yes, I
about
feel
me.
seen, I feel care, right?
Yeah.
Then you just need to say the right words at the right time.
Yeah.
It's just, that's why a lot of people have this perception. Selling is about, talking. Then they have this thing, oh, you're good in selling because you know how to talk, right? Yeah. It's not true. People who are good listeners are the good salespeople, are the influential people. Yeah. It is not people who know how to talk. And that is also one of the reasons I don't like myself talking too much, even though I talk a lot.
Since you were doing so well, did you think I want to start my own agency?
Yes. So I started my own agency.
Yeah.
It was okay. I was one of the younger managers, I still remember. But after about 2 years, I realized it wasn't really my thing.
How come?
I think for one, being an agent, you need to really make sure that people are always motivated to sell more. And that's why you see a lot of agents end up buying big cars and everything, because when they desire more, they have more wants in life. Yeah, they're more motivated to sell more. But I tend to take a very weird approach where I like to tell people this, right? When you join the career, you want to design the kind of life that you want to live. And so you need to ask yourself a very serious question. Is your life all about chasing materialistic things or living a flexible life, having financial freedom? If later is the choice, then you should spend less. Or you should ask yourself this question, what do I really want, and only spend on those things that you want? Now, then after a year plus, I realized that this is a clash with a philosophy of, of building an agency. Because people who end up working with me, under me, they end up telling me this thing. They say, Peter, you're such a good coach, you know. You actually helped me a lot in figuring out what I want. And the rest what I want is not money. And I was like, oh, wow, great. But now I got a problem. Damn. That's when you made me realize money is not too important. Actually, it's more important that I live a life that I'm happy. And then they become less productive in the insurance path. Because they're less motivated now, right? So then I'm like, oh no, I have a huge problem. I have a huge problem. It seems like it's probably a selection issue or either a nurturing issue and everything, right? And I figured that I think I have to change my style to be much more the typical kind, rah-rah, you need more. And I started asking myself this question, is that really, really what I want in life? Because remember I said that when I started off, I only wanted about 15,000. That's enough for me to live a good life, right? And in the past, actually, I never thought about making a lot of money. I always thought that I just want to live a happy life. That's all. And in fact, I wanted to work for government. The only reason I'm not with government is because when I graduated, they closed the application. So they say for 1 year, we are not going to hire in 2012 or something, like that change of government or something. So I was like, okay, then I got no choice. So let's do something else, right? When I did insurance, it was also because I just calculated, I realized that if I don't have that, it's very hard to survive. Yeah. And so I asked myself this, now that I have this money, I am earning this kind of income. Is this really, really, really what I want? So I started having this midlife, this quarter life crisis, right? Yeah. And I started asking myself, what part do I really enjoy and what part do I not? And I realized that what motivates me and what makes me happy in that whole work is the ability to educate people, to coach people, to talk to them about their situation, to listen to them, to see their eyes go, wow, actually I can look at things from this perspective, right? And those things excite me. I feel like those things fuel me to live on another day. What I hated was the fact that I need to make sure that they buy or make sure that they give me another referral so that I can go on another time, and stuff like that. Yeah. And so I thought to myself at that point, if I don't do that, what else can I do? What else can be on this path? And that's when I started toying with the idea of doing something else. And the first offer that came through was a friend asking me to start an advisory firm. So I thought, as an advisory, at least you don't have to sell so hard. But I was wrong. Yeah. And definitely that was my first step into my own business in that sense. And I learned a lot. The business didn't pull through. I lost some money there. Yeah. And at the end of it, my friend, he was my insurance manager who stepped out together with me. He told me that, hey, Peter, you're good at talking, no? You're good at this whole presenting thing. You're good at training. Why not you start putting up videos online? I see people start putting up videos on YouTube and sharing it on Facebook. Maybe you can use that to sell people something. Maybe you can use that to grow the insurance business and unit trust business and advisory business, right? Then, when he told me that, I was like, oh, it looks like that has what I want. And what I don't want, I don't have to deal with it, right? But can this make money? So I started watching more YouTube stuff. And I noticed that there's a bunch of influencers in the US, like Graham Stephan, those kind of things, right? Like they actually can survive just doing that. And I don't mind doing that. But is it really going to happen in Malaysia? I wasn't too sure, but I think eventually it will. Because I started seeing that time people started engaging influencers for lifestyle stuff and so on. So maybe there's a niche for finance. But ultimately what I really wanted at the point was I wanted to do a fintech company. Yeah, but I realized that I'm just bad at programming. I tried to learn it, but it's definitely not my forte and I don't have that kind of time to actually learn it because I just got my first child on the way at that point. You have to survive. I just lost a business and I lost about 50 over 60,000. I just got married, which I spent about 60,000 as well. So basically 100 over 1,000 out the window already.
Yeah.
So it was a difficult time, you see.
Yeah.
And I need speed. So I thought to myself, if I can't start fintech, but if I can do marketing really well, the worst that can happen is I have a media company that runs this whole thing as an influencer. That'll be the worst, right? And worst some more is I just go back and selling insurance.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay.
But why was selling
give it a try.
insurance a second option rather than the first, given your situation? I mean, people would normally just go, let's just stick to something I know I'm good at. I just need to double down on.
Okay, this is the thing, right? That time I was 20, I think I was about 30 years old. Probably about 30 years old. Is it 30 or 32? 32. 2019 I was. No, I'm 36. So 32, 32, 34.
4 years ago.
4 years ago. Yeah,
So
32.
yeah,
Correct.
2019.
Yeah. And I had a kid. So the consideration was very simple, right? When you are 30, you're nearing your peak. Your prime age is supposed to be at 40.
Yeah.
Right? Once you pass that prime age, 45, you better be very good at one thing.
Yeah.
You better be very, very good at one thing.
Yeah.
So I still got time to play. I'm already pretty good in insurance. Not the best, but good enough for me to make a good living. Yeah. I can always revert back anytime.
Yeah.
And I already have a client base of 200 over clients to 300 clients, right? But at this point, I am sitting at a position of opportunity where Facebook started allowing video sharing. YouTube start to gain more attention. There's no influencer in the market talking about money. There's too many unique opportunities.
But it wasn't guaranteed though.
Yeah.
It was blue ocean, but there was no
That's right.
guarantee.
So the idea was very simple. If I go back, I probably hit about 300 over to 400 over 1,000 if I do very well. But if I do this, my first 2 years I may suffer, but I can always hit way higher. And sky is the limit for me. I can end up building a business and I could do something that I really, really, really enjoy, which is just teaching and educating people and don't need to sell, right? Yeah. So that was the idea behind. Yeah. I don't need to depend on sales to survive, right? So I thought, if let's say I end up earning half of this money, but I'm happy doing that, is it okay for me? The answer is yes. So let's do it. Let's do it. Yeah.
But you didn't just let go of the insurance company, surely.
Okay. So
you must have tried to cushion that kind of risk as well with odd jobs.
That's right. That's right. So the good thing about the insurance business was that it gave me a 5 to 6 years of passive income, even though if I don't work on it. I had about 3 to 4 more years of passive income coming in from insurance. And I would say that here's where I have to say that insurance became a very good launch pad for anyone who wants to start a business later, right? Because it gives you a buffer. I wasn't working, but I was still collecting close to 5-figure every month just from insurance.
Wow.
Even if I'm not working on it. Yes, you can see it dwindling, but it gives you a launch pad to work on. I don't have to worry about money too much. Yeah. I mean, I'm still worried. I was still in debt, right? But then it gives you time, so you start do odd jobs. And because at the point I was already I have friends and connections, so there are people who actually came to me and say like, hey, why not you go and help me with my warehouse, this and that, run a business with me and stuff. So one of the things that I did was that I would be selling some insurance. I would be recording video in the mornings. Then halfway through, I'll go out and drive lorry. Yeah. So what happens is a friend wanted me to help out at the warehouse. So he was giving a cut in the whole business. So I started driving lorries. I would drive a 2-ton lorry down to Kajang, pick up stock up the warehouse, arrange things, and then I'll go back to meet someone for insurance. Then after that, I'll end up recording videos. The day just goes on like that.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was tough days. It was very, very difficult days because you will go through this moment where like you're just trying to grab everything like a drowning man.
Yeah.
You're just trying to grab everything that comes into your sight, right? Because you're so scared. And at the point, Joanna, my wife, wasn't even working, right? Yeah. So it was really, really hard. Until I remember one day I met a friend, right? And this friend of mine just came back from Taiwan. And he looked at me when I had a conversation with him. And then he personally pulled me aside, He told me that he's leaving. So I brought him to meet some friends. And then he said, oh, I got to go. Then when he left, he called me. He said, hey, Peter, can you come and help me with my car? Then when I went over, then he just quickly pulled me aside and he told me, Peter, something is really, really wrong. You are not the Peter that I used to know. You're so lost right now. Actually, what do you want? So I started telling him like, what do I see in Mr. Money TV? What do I think it can become? But my fears about it. And that's the reason why I'm grabbing every single opportunity I can find to stay afloat while waiting for Mr. Money TV to turn out to be something.
Yeah.
And he just looked at me and he just gave me that face and say, bro, that's not the way it should be. If you really believe that that's the thing to be, you believe that the potential of growing it, then you should spend every hour doing that. Because even if you're spending time doing it and you don't see any money coming in and results, it will compound into something. Trust me, that is how it's going to be. It will compound. Maybe you may meet a guy and you tell him about Mr. Money TV. You may not see anything, but maybe 3 months down the road, he will recall someone who can help you and things will just start happening, But you got to spend every hour working on this particular project they really believe the potential in. Because if not, you are lost. You're so lost. You're no more the Peter that I used to know. And I just eyeballed out in front of him, right? I start crying. And I just went like, but it's so hard, like I have a kid. My wife is not yet working, just so difficult. And I went home, I told my wife and I said, I think he's right. I think he is right. Yeah. So, well, let's go through this together. Let's be logical. Can you go out and work? Since I think if I'm going to focus on it, it's going to be really difficult. Yes. So why not you try looking for a job? It took less than a year old.
Wow.
Yeah. So and Joanna was very good. She it took a while for her to figure it out, but eventually she said, okay, you know what? I'm gonna go back and work. Yeah. And my mom was super supportive as well, where she helped us here and there. Eventually, we moved back. But in the earlier days, we were staying with her family, and so she had a auntie who helped us. So, and when she started working there, MCO happened, right? So, but anyway, because of that, I started focusing on Mr. Money. I came back, I talked to CK, and I was like, CK, you know what? Screw it. I'm not going to be driving lorry anymore. I'm going to be sitting down here and I'm going to work on this as a full time. Let's see where this goes. At the moment I sat down for the first meeting with him, telling him about where things should be and stuff like that, pitching my vision. At that time, he haven't really accepted to be a co-founder yet. Yeah. So I was pitching my vision to him, telling him that this is where we are going to be one day. And we got a message from a brand. And the brand said, we'd love to work with you. And we just looked at each other and we were like, yeah, I think this is where things are going to go. So, and I started working on it full time, and I told him like, why don't you join me in the business? Yeah. I've nothing to offer you, but you can be a co-founder, and I'll give you X amount of shares, and take this time, go and work, get some job, build up your own runway, then come back in and work. Yeah. So he took on the offer, and the rest is history. Yeah.
What was that vision?
So the idea is, I think Malaysians do not have good access to financial literacy. And sometimes even if we have access to financial literacy, we don't have access to quality financial literacy. Why do I say that? A lot of people who teach us or talk about financial literacy, they themselves are not too literate about it. There's two sides to literacy. One is you understand all the theories, you understand really how it works, and the other side is the one who lives it, right? There are a lot of people who live it, yeah? But not many of them really understand the logic behind it. It's just a habit. It's like, for example, your mom has been telling you save 10%, therefore you save 10%,
just
right?
put in FD,
Yeah, and then
FD.
you're pretty good at managing money, but do you understand the logic behind? Yeah. Do you know why you're buying stocks? Do you know how stocks works? Do you know how unit trusts work? Do you know how insurance work? All these technical details, right? So, and a lot of people who actually teach us, they won't be able to look at a policy or look at an investment product and tell you exactly what is inside. Because it's just more of a hunch and it's more of a habit that they build up. Then it's not really financial literacy. It is just teaching you a habit. But yes, habit is part of a big part of it, right? So that's what I mean, right? That's why like a lot of people say teach financial literacy and so on in school and so on. But if the fella doesn't even understand what is a PE ratio, what is the ROI, what is the capital return on investment, it's going to be hard, right? The person who teaches it needs to have both. It doesn't mean he need to be perfect, doesn't mean that he need to be a millionaire, but he need to understand the logic and be able to communicate the logic. And fortunately, unfortunately, people who are good in this are usually salespeople. And they're usually selling something to you. Yeah. And because the commission is so lucrative, it doesn't make sense for them to move on to teaching. And so that's why when people move into teaching, who are good in this, they end up becoming someone who will charge you $10,000 for a class. Because only then it's worth my time. Yeah. So no one is willing to bring down the pricing and say, let's do something about it. Let's try to get it out for free. And let me work on another model that pays me. Yeah, and so that's what we did here. We tried to provide things as affordable and as free as we can. And we work another business model around it that we get paid for doing free stuff. Yeah, so that's how we play the game, right? So, and that's what made us unique. So the idea was that when you do so much of that, eventually you will be able to gather enough data, and one day when we are ready, we can leap into technology. Yeah, so that was a big idea.
Did you think, but what gives me the right to be doing this? Am I the right person? Wouldn't there be someone else better placed who has run a really successful, famous company who people will look and say, I trust you, you're a figure of authority?
So over the years, I came to realize that if you spend a lot of time wondering, am I really the right person? There's someone better than you. There's always someone better than you. There's always. Yeah. Just read all the biography that you can read. If that is going to be the thing that stops you, you will never achieve anything in your life. So don't bother thinking about it. That shouldn't be even a question. It's irrelevant. Yeah. So it's that practical.
Once you decided I'm going to go into full time, what were the immediate steps you took?
So I remember at the moment I go into full time, the first thing that I did is I sit down with my wife. We look through our finances.
Yeah.
We drafted out a whole Excel sheet.
Yeah.
How much you earn, how much I earn, what are we going to do? And we project our finances, where we can cut down. And we followed that particular Excel sheet as much as we can. We also set what are some rewards and milestones, like what we can get along the way. And if let's say we hit this, what are we gonna do? Like for example, one of the things that we said, I still recall, if we have 30,000 minimum in savings, we would go for a trip. But pandemic came, so I'm not going for a trip.
Even more.
Yeah. So now it's just part of our emergency funds and everything, all right. Yeah. So, but that was the number one thing. And the number two thing is to communicate it very, very clearly with my wife that things are going to be really busy and I need your support. Yeah. Things are going to be really, really busy. I need both emotional support and also support of time, right? Which means that you're going to help out to take on a lot more things in the family. You're going to bear with me and be a little bit more patient. But trust me, things will work out. And yes, when you say trust me, it's very scary because you also do not know the answer. Yeah. You're just saying it. Yeah, you're just saying it. Yeah. And you just have to have this crazy optimism to believe it. Yeah. So these are the first two things that I did. And number three is actually just taking action and work. I used to sit in the office. I still recall, right? The other day I went to Common Ground to meet the guys from Endeavour. Right? Yeah, so I met them the other day. And it was such nostalgic to walk into Common Ground because I started our office there. Yeah, I still recall we took a space, not a room, but just one of the desks, a fixed desk. And I would work there from 8 o'clock. And by 7:30, CK will come from his work. We'll continue working until 2 o'clock, sometimes 4 o'clock, head home, come back to the office at about 8, 9 o'clock, work again. The day just repeats like that. Yeah. So it's just grind and grind and grind and grind and grind. Yeah.
What kept you going? Was there ever a point where you thought, maybe there should be an easier way?
Every day. Every day I ask myself that question.
Yeah.
I think literally our joke among ourselves, partners, is this. Man, if we just keep this operation a little bit smaller, all of us will be driving a Porsche, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's just drive a Porsche. You know what? You know what? Why not next month? Let's just drive a Porsche. So that's our joke. When you say drive a Porsche, it means that let's just cut down the numbers, just work on few things. Then we would drive a Porsche. But no lah, that's not a plan. So
why not?
I think for me, starting this business is not all about money. Money is part of it. It's the reason being is because I always believe in helping people, but I don't believe in charity. Yeah. I believe that you need to create a business that's social, but it shouldn't be a charity. What do I mean by that is that, like, you know how a lot of business model works, right? They go with like asking for donations and stuff like that, and raising money to actually help people. I think that it's a flawed model in my own opinion.
That's why you have social enterprises.
Yes. So I believe in a sustainable one. In fact, I believe in a for-profit social enterprise. I don't believe in non-profit social enterprise, right? I just think that there needs to be a for-profit enterprise that is willing to distribute wealth more equally. Yeah, because you will see a lot of for-profit enterprise, end of the day, it's just paying their people a little bit better than what the market is paying, or like the groups that are not doing very well, but just pay them a little bit more, right? And that a little bit more is still not even our kind of urban pay lah, put it this way. And I disagree with that kind of method. I disagree. I believe that ultimately it's about co-sharing of wealth. I don't need to be the richest person in the room. I just need to be getting a fair reward. That's what I believe. So I always tell people this, I'm not nice, I'm just fair. Yeah, I'm just fair. Yeah. So I don't need to maximize my wealth. We just need to distribute it equally and everyone is happy. Yeah. So because of that concept, I always believe that if you're a if you see yourself as a sustainable social enterprise, the first place to work on is to create a great working environment. And that means paying them well. And so if I don't do that, then I'd rather not hire. That's my belief.
So I want to talk about the whole hiring employee part later. Firstly, I want to drill down more on you really wanting to give back to people. And I wonder where that comes from, because I feel like people haven't exactly given to you that much, right? I heard there was this story of this girl who you saved her life at a train. Can you tell us a bit more?
Okay. Yeah. I think over the years, I become more skeptical about human beings. So I think if you watch one of my videos about brutal truths about business, I said this one thing, right? The key is about staying sincere in a very insincere world. Because of the virtue of seeing what my dad has gone through, then I myself joining the insurance industry and then losing friends along the way, and seeing things like that.
I'm sure people were laughing at you.
Yeah, they were. Even when I started Mr. Money TV, I was laughed out the door. And I still recall, I was just telling people when I first started Mr. Money TV, I went to many VC events and everything. I used to tell people about my idea of how things could work here. They used to tell me that, literally it's like that, I don't think it's going to work out, dude. Yeah. See you, take care. Yeah. And that time media wasn't the thing yet, right? So I used to tell them that it's going to work, right? And I got laughed out the door. People would be like, nah, stuff like that. And today I walk into those events, people will be like, hey, Peter, Mr. Money TV, Yeah. So I get very skeptical about human beings.
Yeah. But you still want to give back.
So talking about a train incident, I will forever remember that. Yeah. Not that is that person's fault again. So what happened was that one day I was in the train station in monorail. This lady, she was like standing there and she looked very odd, right? And I hopped into the monorail and she didn't come in when everyone else came in. She just stood very near the door and she just suddenly almost like 2 times just like leaned towards the door from the outside. And the monorail was about to move so I just quickly hop out the monorail, hold her before she fell on the track, fell on the door and just ran down the tracks, right? And apparently she didn't eat breakfast, so she was anemic. She literally, if I don't pull her back, I think she would either be heavily injured, because like at the moment the door was about to close, the thing runs, she's just gonna lean herself on that moving MRT train, and it's not the ones with gate kind, right? So I took care of her, gave her my food, my breakfast for the day. I just gave it to her. And I got a number. She said, oh, thank you very much. One day let me just thank you, okay? Buy you a coffee and something like that. I was like, yeah, sure, no problem, right? Yeah. Then I just joined the insurance industry at that point, right? Yeah. So I gave her a call subsequently when I joined, about 3 weeks later. I said, hey, do you remember me? She said, yeah. She hasn't met me yet, right? Even after that day. Then I gave her a call. I say like, hey, I understand that this is a bit odd, but since you want to meet me up for coffee, you mentioned that. Can I meet you for coffee? But at the same time, I actually just joined the insurance industry. Do you think it's possible that I can just give you a sharing? You don't have to buy anything from me. I just need to practice. Nope. And that's all, right? I've never heard from her again, never see her again. I only said that once. And when you help someone, you don't expect to be helped back. Yeah. But definitely it didn't felt very good.
Yeah.
And it made me realize also that actually when you help someone, you don't expect anyone will help you back. Just don't expect that. And people live for themselves. It's just like that. Yeah. Then now you have a choice. If next time when someone is going to fall onto tracks, should you go and help the person or not? Don't say that don't say that you want to listen to me, my sales pitch or not at the point, right? But just say that you never even called me before to thank me, put it this way, right? Should I step out and help that person next time? My answer is still yes, because it is not for that person's benefit, but for mine. Because whenever I step out and help someone, it makes me a better person. That has nothing to do with them thanking me or not. That has nothing to do with helping them. It is about me being better person. So that is always my philosophy. And that's why in doing this whole Mr. Money thing, the expectation is not that my audience will thank me for doing something. My own benchmark is I become a better person. That's all. So they don't have to walk down the street and say, thank you very much, Mr. Money, for willing to change the thing and do it like that. Or it's okay. In fact, I thank them because you're willing to let me experiment being a better person. And that perspective helped me to stay more sincere in the insincere world. Yeah. Where even if people take advantage of you or anything, you just go, well, it's never about that. It's about yourself. Yeah.
So I imagine people do want to take advantage of you as you start to build and be recognized. I remember when we had this Starbucks meeting, and then there was this guy who came out and was like, Mr. Money, and he was so happy. He wanted to take a picture with you, and you were clearly not phased. It's clearly not your first time. So there's clearly recognition there. There must have been people who came and said, I want a slice of this.
Yeah, there are. Usually we are very careful with that. Over the years, there are some people who come and find us and try to offer to take our business to the next level. There are some sincere ones. There are some insincere ones.
How do you evaluate?
In the past, I used to just trust everyone. Yeah. But today I don't. I'm very much more careful. Yeah. How do we evaluate that? For me personally is when someone comes and approaches us today, the first thing I gauge is whether does this person even talk to me about profits, about what do I get? Yeah. If anyone come to me today and they start telling me that they can help me and they start asking me for what they can get out of this, I am a little bit more cautious already. Yeah. But do I bring up the conversation? I do. I will bring up one because I don't believe that people should work for me for free. So at the end of it, I always tell them that, look, this is what I think you should be getting, or what do you think you should be getting? Yeah. But if they very quickly want to jump on it, then it tells me that they have this element that they want to protect themselves. It simply means that the trust level is not there. That's all. Yeah. So there are also certain people who will just come and be very greedy about things. Then you want to be just disassociate. Like my opinion is don't waste time. If someone comes over, if things are not doesn't click, then just don't waste time. Don't try. Don't bother trying. Trust me, when it comes to this part, 90% of the time, your hunch about who you can click with is correct. Yeah, I mean, you have been to parties and you've talked to people, right? And you go to events and you talk to people. There are certain people you're just like, yeah, they're interesting, but it's not the kind that revives you when you talk. But rather, you feel tired after talking, right? You feel like you need to think a lot. It's not that they're a good person or bad person. It's just
Wavelength's different.
Wavelength is different, right? Then yeah, just stay a little bit away lah.
So the wavelength must have been really on par for CK and Frankie. I mean, how do you even convince them to jump on board? CK was working with you till 2 a.m., 4 a.m. Doesn't sound fun.
Both of them share a common thread when they came in, right? Yeah. They never asked questions. Yeah. They just worked. Like when I told them where do I believe Mr. Money is going to go? Yeah. All they said is, okay, let's try it. They didn't ask me for anything. They just asked me, what time should I be here tomorrow? Wow. That's all. Serious. Yeah. That's all they asked. What time should I be here tomorrow? And I just go, you don't even know how much are you being paid? Yeah. And I was like, not that I can pay you, but you don't even want to know? No, it's okay. Yeah. Then every day is the same thing.
You must have asked them why they did that though.
Yes, I asked them. Yeah. They all have their answers. And definitely, I think I shouldn't be telling their answers for them. Sure. But I can say one thing is that they all believe in the same thing for sure, which is they all believe that the financial literacy system in Malaysia is very broken. And they believe that what we are doing here can change that. Yeah. Definitely, on the other hand, we are all also motivated by a little bit of money, right? In that sense, do I have a stake in it and so on? Like for example, Frankie. Yes, it's very clear. At the moment he came in, he made it clear that yes, I do want to have a stake. But does he discuss with me how much the stake is? No. He just asked me the next thing. So should I be here tomorrow? What time? And that went on for 6 months. Yeah. For 6 months, there was no conversation about what are you getting. Yeah. There is no conversation about literally money or what's my future. It's just a pure trust. And does he get paid along that time during that period? Yeah, he does get some pay. Yeah. But it's not like the kind that is like, hey, are you going to pay me this much to work? No. Nope. No question about that. And one day, there's not even a conversation about, can we start having this conversation by when? Nope. Nothing.
I mean, there's two ways to think about it, right? On one hand, you'll be like, that's really dumb. Another is like, that's really amazing. How do you even find these people?
So CK was an intern when I was working in the insurance industry. Yeah. So he was our intern back then for my manager. And when I started Mr. Money TV, my manager actually told him about it and then introduced him again to me and like, oh yeah, I haven't seen you for a very long time, right? And he's like, yeah, I watched some of the video. I thought the content was good, but your video quality sucked.
That was really frank.
No, he didn't exactly say that, right? He just said like, oh, it was really good, but I think I can help you with the visuals and the audio, like that. I was like, yeah, it sucked, man. Like, could you, like, I don't even have a DSLR right now, but if you think that you want to help me out, please do. Yeah. Yeah, he said, yeah, sure. What time do I need to be here? Yeah, and that's just how it goes, right? And Frankie, on the other hand, I've known him for many years, 14 years old onwards, I've already known him. He came one day and we have always talked about like finance, and when I started Mr. Money TV, he will tell you that story that they all thought, like, what the hell is this guy doing, right? Yeah. Laughed about it and stuff like that. But eventually when it got traction, then he started realizing that, hey, there could be a breach. And I've always been telling him that, look, one of the things that's really broken is because you guys who are investment banker are never willing to step out and tell the public how does it work. So what happened is that people who don't really know actually make those basic information like some super pieces of masterclass that can be sold super expensive, and you guys who are banker make it as a pre-requirement to even get into investment banking, but you guys just don't say anything about it. Yeah. So yeah, they say, yeah, that's how it goes. Then we will toy the idea. And one day when he thought like, well, I think my time with corporate is about there. You know what? We have been talking about this. Why not let's do it? Yeah, that was like, oh, okay. Now I'm we kind of have a name a little bit. So do you want to come in now? They's like, yeah. Then I say that it's not like last time when I first started, They's like, yeah, I know. Okay, then just come out of office, let's have a chat, right? Then he came up, have a conversation. He said, this is the kind of value that I can bring to this company. So what do we do next? We say, great, let's do something. Okay, so what time do I need to be here? That's all, right? Again, so we did lay down at first, say that, okay, eventually this is the direction to head to. You will have some equity, but okay, no discussion first. Let's just go into that. Yeah, but you're right. Is it dumb or is it smart? In my opinion, for most people, they will think that like if you do this, it's like a privilege. Maybe you already have a background, maybe a what. Yeah, for Frankie, he already has been working for a while. He has some savings. For Chiket, no.
Yeah.
He doesn't even have a runway. He was just a fresh grad. He probably had 5,000 or 6,000 in his bank account over the years of savings, right? And he had to go back to work to save his own runway. So it's not a privilege in that sense. So is it smart or dumb? Now, in my opinion, this is where sometimes the luck part comes in. The luck part comes in. When you want to make a decision in your life, you can't run away from that 10% or 5% of probability that's unexplainable. But you need to use every single drop of brain juice to figure out, is this really what you want first? And for them, the benefit of that period, it's kind of like a prototyping for them. Is this the life that I want? And when they came in for 1 week, 2 weeks, you will kind of know, is this the life that I want already? Yeah. Then when you know that this is the life that I want, then you will have more answers or more evidence to support, is this the way to go? Right? But if you're not even willing to give that 1 week to try, then you will never know. So that's why if you want to straight away go into something and then you want to say, I want to get paid for even trying, then congratulations, you're looking for a job. Then you will get a job. You will never get a share. Yeah. But if you come in with an attitude of trying for free, you can aim for something bigger. Yeah. But also you need to be smart to protect yourself. Like for example, for me, I think I'm one of the most, I try to be honest. I can tell you I try to be very honest with them. So we have a lot of hard conversation up front. Yeah. So I tell them up front that, look, this is where we could go, but I'm not going to have this conversation until then. Yeah. And when then, I'm so sorry, I got no answer for you. So there's no guessing room.
But at least there's a target for everyone.
Yes, that's right. So, so I have to say that like very often, if you, like young people out there, if you're looking for a new job, you are thinking about wanting to try something, the best way is prototype it. Go to that place, give it a try, ask this person, can I shadow you, help on you with this project for free for a while? What's the pay? No need, don't talk about pay. Let's just do it. Give it all you can to do. Because trust me, yes, you may be very busy and you're going to be doing it and you'll be wondering yourself, I don't have time for it. If you're going to go into it full-time doing it, you're going to be living that life where it's no time and then you're going to do it. So this is your best time to figure out when you're tired and you're still doing it, do you enjoy it? If you're tired and you're doing it, you don't enjoy it, you just don't enjoy it, then don't waste your time. Figure out something else. Yeah.
Is there another example of someone who has also done the same thing and figured out what they want to do that you know?
I would say if you say within my office, yeah, I think Matt, right? I was just telling you about Matt, right? So Matt is this school kid, right? When we first got a letter one day, when we first started Mr. Money TV, 2020, I still recall. 2020, we moved into the office. who wanted to hire staff. He sent in an email saying that he's a 15-year-old boy and he right now is looking for a part-time job. But the reason why he can't find us is because he saw a video, he likes it, and he believed that he can offer value in terms of his perspective towards Gen Z. And we thought it was such a well-written mail, you see. He just started editing. We saw the video, it was okay, it's not super great, but we brought him in because it's just too interesting. How can a 15-year-old boy come and tell you this, right? Yeah. Literally, I asked him like, okay, if I hire you, are you sure it's legal? Is your parents really okay? Can you let your father meet me? And he's like, oh yeah, sure. So he asked his dad. His dad said, never mind, I don't want to meet them. Just do whatever you like, you know. So I was like, okay, uncle, sure, man. His dad's a professor, by the way. And his brother is a genius who is on a scholarship in Singapore.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So he is considered a not so smart one, but he's also the top scorer in his school. Yeah. And that's the not so smart one. So, and he came in, he was always, I think the good thing about him is that being a young guy, he comes in without much of a pressure. He just wants to learn as much as he can. Like literally, he just enjoys himself learning. So he tend to be in that attitude, and because of that, he did very well with us. He started learning our editing style. He got better at it. For those who actually watch and they start watching until like about 2021, it was still his video. Yeah, that was when we got a leap up from our previous. So we have like few leaps, right? That was like one of the leap up. Then he left, went back and studied for his SPM for 1 year. Then he came back recently. And this time around when he came back, so different. He just went so much more matured. Yeah. He doesn't sound like a 20 plus year old even. He sounds almost like a almost 30-year-old, but you can obviously see that experience gap in terms of life. But in terms of handling work, like senior, definitely. Yeah. And he is just so giving everything, you know, like you set a standard here and he would deliver something here. Yeah. Because his standard is not based on what you tell him, but what he believes he can do best. And maybe because he's young, right? So he doesn't have that like, I'm only going to do as much as I'm being paid for. Or I got other things, right? He's just, I enjoy doing all this. Let me have fun. If I get paid, it's okay. So literally when he comes in, when we ask him this time round, like he's just going to be here for a while before he goes into his college. How much you want? He's like, well, anything, man. Anything. Then you're like, so zero. Then he laugh. Oh, no lah. 800 can or not? But in the end, we pay him a fresh grad salary. Yeah. Yeah, we pay him full time. Yeah. Because I told him upfront that, look, yes, I think if I pay you 2,000, you'll be happy, but forget about it. For here, the standard is based on your work. Yep. So I think the best that I can do for you at this point is a fresh grad. Mm-hmm. And also because this is a budget that I was supposed to use to hire someone else. So I'm just going to give it over. So that's the thing.
Speaking of pay, you have this philosophy of hire 5, work 10, pay 8.
Yes.
What is that?
So this is a philosophy not from me, but I read from a book called Good to Great. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say that anyone who wants to do business management or think about starting a business, read the book, man. It's one of the best books around. Classic. Right? Written by researchers rather than gurus. Yeah. Right? So this story is because they talked about this particular steel mill in the US where their staff are all farmers. Yeah. So unlike normal steel mill that is built in other places, they purposely go to places where there's farmers. Traditional industry is farmer. Because they say that to get them to wake up with that discipline is not something that can be trained. You can't train people. That comes down to family education. Yeah, that comes down to family education. Right? But number one, once they have the discipline, then what we do is we motivate them by paying them more. But I also expect more from you. So I hire 5, but we work like we are 10 people and we pay them 8. So it becomes a win-win. I don't have to pay you less. I can pay you more than what the market is paying, but you are more than happy and willingly work more than you're supposed to.
Yeah.
And he doesn't mean the hours. He meant it by productivity level. So his meal, with the same number of people, the productivity level is way higher than other meals. Their shift starts at 8. The people will be there at 7:30 to prepare and start planning. And by 8 is work. It's not planning. So it's like, you know how we all like reach here at 10 o'clock or 9 o'clock. You have coffee, you makan, everything before you start. Nope. You start work.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is how it goes there. And because of that, I try to implement the same philosophy here, where I tell all my staff the same thing and I adopt the exact same thing. That's why I'm not your father. That's how it came about, right? I'm not your father. Because as an owner, as an employer, there's only that much I can do.
Yeah.
I can help you, I can give you a platform, but it's not my duty to teach you to wake up early. That is in your family to run. That's your education overall. To be polite, to be sociable, all this is nothing to do with me. My job is just to give you a platform and tell you what works, what doesn't. And if you fit, congratulations. You're going to do well here. Yeah. So that's whole, it comes in a package. I'm not your father. Hire 5, work 10, pay 8, right? Yeah. So that's the idea behind. Yeah.
How do you sift through and find the right people? You have a very interesting and extensive hiring process. What is it?
Yes. To a certain extent, I think we are quite elaborated for a very small company.
But it's important to get the right person.
Yes. I always think that in a company, so I always tell my staff this one thing. We are just a platform. If you manage to stay here, it is not because you're better than anyone else. It's just you're more fitting here. If you don't get to work here after a while where you have to leave or anything, it's again not because you are not good, but because it's not fitting. That's all. It's all about fitting. I always tell them that we are like a bus heading towards one direction. If it's the right direction that you're heading to, you hop on. If it's not, you hop off. My job is not to tell you where to go. My job is to drive to that direction. Yeah. So if you like the direction, come along. If you don't like the direction, please get off. Yeah. So that is the idea behind it. So for us, we have 3 stages of interview. Although we don't follow religiously sometimes, but we used to follow very religiously. Yeah. As things got very busy and the hiring turnover faster, sometimes we don't. Yeah. But generally we do. And when we don't, we usually end up screwing up. I can tell you that. Yeah. So we have a first phase where we give a phone call. And that phone call, I'll talk nothing about work. I'll just talk about you. Where I want to find out, why do I have a phone call? The first thing is this. If you can talk to me, then it shows that you can communicate. If you can't even talk, you need face-to-face, then I got a problem.
Yeah.
Means you don't know how to communicate. So, sorry.
Yeah.
Right? And in that conversation, we'll be talking a lot about them as a character. So that will be based on the kind of job that I want to hire at the point. There's a general set of kind of character that I'm looking for. Like, for example, the person has to be spontaneous enough. The person has to be crazy enough. The person has to be daring enough, adventurous enough, that kind of thing. Right? Because if you yourself is not a spontaneous person, it's hard for you to work in a startup. You will want things to be rigid. And I can't offer that at this level in my work.
Yeah.
So these are all the things that we want, right? Now, number 2, once you pass that, then we'll call you in for an interview. And we'll say that the first part of the interview is I interview you. The next part is you interview us. So how does that work? The first part, I'll be telling you about, I'll be asking you a bunch of questions. We'll start dwelling in a little bit into work, how you manage and everything all. Look for that kind of cultural fit further. And then it's for you to ask any question and even interact with my staff for 10, 20 minutes. So when you interact with our staff, we leave you there. We don't disturb you. We don't stop you from answering any question. We will just even walk off into our own meeting room and do our own things. Because you're going to be working here. If I'm going to stop you, then it may not be a sincere conversation. So I want you to get whatever you want to get here. Yeah. Because eventually you'll find out one. So if I'm really not on par, my company is not good enough, then see you, bye-bye lah. That's all lah. If you, after talk to my staff, you realize something, they don't work here, good lah. Then I don't need to waste time firing you also in future, right? So that's the next part. And the last part is the part where we really go into a more in-depth interview where we really, really drill down into a lot of stuff. Yeah. So first part is my selection for basic stuff. Second part is a mutual selection. Third part is I select you again.
When did you decide I actually want to hire staff? Because it's very easy, right, for YouTubers run their own little thing and it's very profitable. If I want to shut it down, I can shut it down. When you have a business, you have employees, that's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah, so if you're thinking about it as a business, then it is not as easy like an influencer, because an influencer, what you do is that you just hire a part-time production guy, hire a part-time videographer, then get a job done. Actually, in fact, it's very good. Profit margin way higher. Everything's better. I also don't know why we do this, but yeah, we end up doing this.
Your Porsche is still waiting.
Yeah. Yeah, so we end up doing this. I have to say that for us, when we look at hiring, we don't simply hire, but we pay a lot of attention to workflow.
Yeah.
And we find out where in workflow we are stuck. First, we try to solve it internally. If we can't solve it internally and it accumulates to be a work that is enough for one person to handle, then we start hiring. Yeah, and that person needs to be able to handle this kind of work.
Yeah.
So we also get our staff involved in the hiring journey in that sense. Number one, getting them to talk to them. Number two, also, we ask our staff, do you need people? So very much unlike normal corporates, you ask anyone, they sure say they need help one. Here they won't. Why? Because we have a profit sharing base. So we also teach them finance, very simple. You need more people to help you the work, you get less profit. So you decide. Yeah. You decide. So literally our staff are the one who will tell us, like, please don't hire or hire. Yeah. So if they tell us they hire, I just need to remind them again. You do realize that you're going to get less, huh? And usually that's when they'll say no or yes. And when they say yes, it means that they know that they really can't handle. Yeah. So I get them involved in that sense.
So you are fully transparent with the numbers with all of your staff?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
They know how much a company makes. They know how much is each project.
Wow.
We don't hide. We are very honest about it. Yeah. As much as we can. Yeah. The numbers are clear. Every year we'll do a review. Every quarterly also we do a review. Yeah. Even if the roles are experimental and we are not sure whether it's going to do well, we also tell them up front that is experimenting right now. You're going to be very lost, but bear with me, it's like that.
Would you ever go down the Ali Abdal route and share your numbers in public on the YouTube?
Not yet. Not yet. But I can say that we are profitable from the start.
Yeah.
We have been very profitable from the start. The company has been growing by
100% year on year.
Yeah, but that's like 2 years record lah, right? 2 to 3 years record. Yeah. So I can say that we are definitely we have crossed 7 figures.
Yeah.
But it's just in that few years from that growth, it's very impressive because
everyone is like, oh no, I don't have enough money during the pandemic.
Yeah. So then it grew lah. But are we rich? No lah. We end up again, like I said, we end up giving out. Like our staff, we gave, I think last year the bonus at the highest was a couple of months, right?
Wow.
Couple of months.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I know it's not the best in the whole world, but it's pretty good for a startup, a media startup especially. Yeah.
So I have to ask, how do you make money? How do you do so well? It cannot be through AdSense because it doesn't pay well. And most of your audience, I imagine, would be Malaysians. So CPM is even lower than US.
Yeah. So if you're only going to depend on YouTube AdSense, you better just go to overseas. Yeah, their AdSense dollar is better. Here it's like 3 times lower. You you will die. Yeah, Singapore still can survive, by the way. You will do very well, just depending on AdSense. Malaysia, no. Yeah, you are going to suffer. So you need to have a good business model where it is more about content sponsorship and so on. That's why time to time our audience will see us having brands involved in some of our content. Yeah. Because you don't pay me, dude. Yeah, they have to foot the bill. So there's going to be ads. Simple as that.
It's similar to what you interviewed Wei Cheng recently from Woke Salaryman. Said the same thing to me. They're like, we're just unapologetic. Hey, we need to pay ourselves.
Yeah.
So it's sponsored.
Correct. Yeah. So that's why for a very long time we didn't really do classes, because we will only do classes if it's being sponsored by a bank or any financial institution. Yeah. Then we'll do classes because they take half the fee and then we get our student to pay half the fee. And now we are starting to think about doing classes even without sponsorship. And we also tell people up front, there's no free lunch. I'm not a millionaire or multi-millionaire that has made it in life, so I just want to do some charity and help you by sharing my knowledge. I'm so sorry, bro. I need to pay my bills, man. Yeah. So I can teach, but I need to get my fair value out of teaching. Yeah, that's all. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So, yeah, simple as that.
How did you evaluate what's a priority during different stages of your company? Like what kind of product to focus on, what to create and give?
I think it always goes down to this one thing, right? Okay, I was just talking to this young entrepreneur the other day. Okay, which I find that this is something very common among people who just started their business. They have 1,000,001 ideas. They have 1,000,001 ways to make money. And when they tell you one thing, it tends to link up into another 10 million things.
Surefire way to fail.
Correct. So usually the problem is you have too many ways to make money. Yeah. But I always believe that you need to be very practical. So one of the methods that I use, that I also teach other people who does coaching with me. So I actually run some small coaching for free. Yeah, but I don't announce the word because it's free.
Well, it's just that now you just have.
Okay lah. Yeah. So yeah, you can tell me lah, but I may not say yes to it lah. Because I only have that much of time, right? And also because I'm experimenting on certain syllabuses that I'm thinking about doing. Yeah. So one of the methods that I use personally is, number one, listing down what is my USP of my product. Right? So I will have this idea, number one, okay, I have this product, and I think this product, the best thing is it solves this problem. So who can use it? Then that's where the problem starts, right? They'll go like, this can use that, 1,000,001 people can use that. Yeah, they will say their product is the best thing in the world that everyone can use. But the truth is, it's not. So what you want to do is to rank it in priorities. Yeah. For your product, the best feature will be used by who? Who is the most sought after feature? That is that group of people that you want to target first. All right? And with that, you want to ask yourself this question. Out of this target group of people that you want to target, what are the subgroup within? Right? So for example, that guy, his business is providing some sort of a e-com solution. Right? So I asked him, who are the target market? There's only two people who will be interested in service. Number one, e-com brand owners. Number two, accountants. Okay? So he wants to target accountants. But the truth is, people who are interested in this will likely be e-com owners. Now, and here is where I notice a lot of entrepreneurs will die want to still go for that group that they believe that they want to do things for. Right? Because it's the novelty of it, the idea of it, right? The romanticism behind it. Now, I'm very, very practical person. When you list down these two, you know that the people who are going to come is from entrepreneurs, e-com entrepreneurs. Then you should target e-com entrepreneur first, because that's your number one reachable group. They are the number one group they are willing to pay. So there's this list that you need to play with. Like, who are these people who can pay? Who are these people that is within your reach? Who are these people that are not within your reach? They rank them accordingly. They target that group first. You don't go with like, I must have accountant. You're sure die. Sure die. Sure lost. Now, because once you target the entrepreneurs, and entrepreneurs love your service, guess who will come along later and say, hey, let me use your service as well because I have a bunch of customers who need that. The accountants, because as they serve the entrepreneur will tell them, then these people will come to you. So you don't need to be the super app on the first day. You only need to get good at one thing. Yeah. And I think along my journey building Mr. Money from start until today, I've met a lot of people who we started in the earlier days in common ground, and some of them survive, some of them don't, right? And I realized that many of them who didn't survive is because of this. They love the novelty of their business idea, but they don't understand that business is not about novelty. There's a lot more to do with that. You need to have a very clear analytic mind. Like for me, I told people this. If it requires for me to sweep the floor, that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to sweep the floor. It's not that I'm all the way high up. So you need to have the practicality of understanding what your business is and what it fits your market. Because the definition of business is very simple. Are you solving a problem? Mm-hmm. Are you solving a problem? So if you forget that your business is about solving a problem, that's when you fall in love with your idea. And that's when you will fail. Yeah.
When people see that you're solving a problem and they think, ooh, I could do that, I'm going to copy you. So that's quite rampant, right? I mean, Colin Summit talked about it recently on plagiarism. It's quite easy to reverse engineer what content creators do.
Yeah.
How do you create a moat around yourself?
Okay. When it comes to that, I have to say that for content creating, it's one of the easiest barrier of entry. Yeah. So definitely being a first mover gives you some sort of advantage, right? But number two, because of it being a content, there is also one part of it that's very hard to be replaced. Personality.
Yeah.
But it's also the most risky part of this business.
Yeah. If you fall, if you're sick.
That's right. Yeah. So for us, the mode is definitely not a very good one, which is personality. But on the other hand is how we handle things. How we create a whole business model surrounding this. Yeah, which is a bit of a, not to say very hard to enter, but it's not easy as well. It's kind of like when you look at sales.com, right? Is it hard to be where they are? No. But it's hard to get there. And to get there, it takes a lot of effort, a lot of years, because you just somehow need the right skill, the right place at the right time, the right people, the right timing, the right projects. And to a certain extent, we are able to pull that off so far is because we have been also running businesses in the past. We have already had our own set of networks. We already have our own way of thinking about things. We had real business experience where I was a sales guy. I understood how this marketing industry worked, right? So to put a moat around myself, I have to say that it is very difficult to really articulate that. And I'll be honest, even if I really can articulate it, do I really want to tell it?
Yeah, that's true.
So, I have to say that I will not tell lightly.
Yes.
Yeah, because the truth is, that you already know that it's reverse engineerable already, right? And so far, I have to say that it's not easy to do what we do. Yeah, but about there.
I love that you talk about personality because that's the next thing I want to talk about, the Mr. Money brand. As I said to you before, when I look at you, the first name that comes to mind is Mr. Money. And I have to remind myself, wait, he's actually called Peter. Like, you have really got the brand down. How did you do it? I know you always tell me to read Donna Miller's book. Okay, I know, I'm reading it. But how have you implemented it such that it's so prevalent? I know my friends think of you as Mr. Money. It's not a name, it's Mr. Money.
So it's a very conscious decision. When I first started, I asked myself, should the name be Peter Yong or something else? And I thought to myself that Peter Yong will die. Mr. Money may not die. It's kind of like Pringles, that phase, right? Yeah, eventually it'll be known as the potato chips, right? So that's the same idea there. Same thing, Colonel, KFC, stuff like that. That's what I want to build.
Yeah.
At the start, definitely was a very simple and easy decision. Money is money, right?
Yeah.
When you hear the word Mr. Money, no explanation needed, man.
Yes.
What else is there to explain, right? Yeah.
Just wait for Mrs. Money to come.
Yeah, correct. So there's nothing much to talk about. But yes, it's not a beautiful name. A lot of people want something more cliche and more nice, right? But I'm a believer of the market is going to be more and more raw.
Yeah.
I don't
Go back
think
to the basics. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that the market wants a very, it's not like last time that you want Kizu or something like that. People don't want that.
Yeah.
Might as well you just tell me that Mr. Cheesecake. No, I'll remember that. Or like Pretzel House, Park Bagel. It's very straightforward, no guessing needed because people are getting more and more lazy. Let's put it this way. Yeah. So that's number one. So how did I end up building a brand is because you also stay aligned to the brand. Now, so to build a brand, ultimately, it's a very conscious decision-making journey.
Yeah.
For example, we have made it a point to say that we will not do very expensive financial courses. And will I charge high sometimes? Yes, I will. Because if I have no bank sponsor, I'm not going to charge low because I need to make my money. But you also make it a profit, that a point or conscious purpose that you're not going to be using very predatory selling tactics. Like, for example, you know how you join certain masterclass, they will start telling you that, okay, this course is like that, you only got 5 more minutes, that kind of thing, right? Yes. So we also very consciously try our very best to avoid those kind of things. And we're very upfront that, okay, look, when I say that you come to my class, I'm going to teach you, for example, when we did recent rounds of a dividend investing workshop, right? I make sure my goal is that tomorrow when you finish my class, you can really buy a dividend stock. But I'll also tell you upfront, the parameter is you only be able to buy this kind of dividend stock. The reason being is because the other kind of dividend stock, you will need to understand a lot more things, which in these 2 hours, I can't feed you, right? Yeah, so this 2 hour thing, it's okay. But trust me, you can go out and buy it. And so that 2 hours is really about education. It has nothing to do with, I grew up in a poor family, I can make it today, you can make it as well, come and commit with me,
Motivational speaker.
You know how it works, right? Yeah, which I don't. I just tell you from what are the facts. Yeah. And then, I'll after that tell you like, hey, moving ahead, what's next? You need to learn CDEFG. And I'm so sorry, CDEFG is a 5-day thing. So I'm going to charge you money, man. I'll just tell you up front, I'm going to charge you money. You want, you come. You don't want, see you, bye-bye. So it's also very straightforward about that. And we try our very best to make prices at an affordable level. So that's why like certain things I don't do, like one-to-one coaching. There are students who offer us 20,000 for one-to-one coaching. Yeah, for like 5 sessions, 10 sessions.
Oh, wow.
We have to consciously reject that.
Why?
Because, number one, I ask myself this question, do I think my time worth more than that? Yeah, I think I worth more than 20,000. That's number one. Number two, if I start taking that, it's going to take away my time to do other things. And I'll need to start making money again with that. Then I'll need to start upselling people this kind of $20,000 courses, which is, again, not the thing that I want. So you need to make these kind of very conscious decisions to say, nope, I'm going to earn less money or forgo certain opportunities. I shouldn't say earn less money. I should just say forgo opportunities.
Short-term opportunities for long-term goals.
Yes, to stay true to the brand and do well in it. Yeah. So that is that kind of things that help with brand building. Yeah. I mean, you just look at someone like I'm Jen, right? Yeah. She is one of the very few comedians around. right? Female comedians around. And she stayed true to it. You don't see her posting up stuff where she's at a beach showing bikinis, running around, dancing funny stuff just to... She don't do that because that's not her thing. That's not her brand, right? Let's look at Red, right? Red's idea is I do art without painting, and so on point coming out in the book, right?
Yes.
And you won't see her paint stuff to a certain extent, right? If it has anything that has to do with painting, it will be more than just painting. Yeah, and so there is that branding part, right? That requires you to be very conscious about every single decision that you're gonna make, and that's the only thing that I can say about like how we built Mr. Money TV.
Yeah.
And so these days we are a bit happy because we are starting to go out in the streets, and there are some people who will go like, hey, you guys are from Mr. Money TV. You are that Mr. Money and you are that Frankie from Mr. Money. Or either you are that Peter from Mr. Money. So whenever I hear people calling me Peter from Mr. Money, I feel very happy. Because like, yes, it's starting to be more like Pringles, you know? Yeah, that's the idea behind it. Then it becomes less about me, but more about the brand. Because ultimately the idea is anyone can be Mr. Money. As long as you learn about finance, you can be Mr. Money. That's the idea.
Do you think a further way forward is you need to bring more of your staff on, so it's not just you and Frankie to sort of dilute that?
We have been trying to convince our staff, some of them, yeah, but
Work in
no.
progress.
Yeah. Most of them don't really want lah.
That's fair enough. What about on a personal level? Because obviously when you go out, you never know when you're going to meet someone. Do you think, I need to, even in my personal life, be on brand, whatever that looks like?
So I made a very conscious decision to just be myself. So a lot of people have said this, that if they see me in real life and they see me outside on the show and everything, it's the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I figured that I'm not very good in lying. Yeah. It's not that I don't lie, it's just that I'm not very good at lying.
Yeah.
Okay, so so remember the idea that I do what you're very good at?
Yeah.
I think I'm better at just being myself. so I just be myself lah. So I don't curate a specific idea of how I am.
Yeah.
What you see is what you get lah. Yeah.
What has been the lowest point for you? Didn't you say in the video that you almost closed at one point?
Oh, okay. That was a bit clickbaity lah. Yeah.
That's the next thing we're going to talk about. But yes.
In the Mr. Money TV time,
Yeah.
I have to say Mr. Money TV so far everything has been very good. Yeah, the only time that things are bad is because I will be paranoid about things. So I'm a functional paranoia. Functional paranoid, right? So what does that mean is you are always wondering about how things can go wrong and how you will go irrelevant, how things are going to go bad and stuff like that. But it's not the kind that makes you depressed and don't move, but rather you are functionally thinking about solution and what to do next. So they're quite functional paranoid, which is also a very common trait for, if you look at the book Good to Great, most of the leaders are like that. And in fact, I came to learn that even good content creators are like that. They often have this worry that they're going to be irrelevant, that they're not going to be doing well. And because of that pressure, they keep pushing themselves to do better.
Yeah.
So we don't really have a time that we are like, oh, everything is down, right? But yeah, it's just a lot of play situation in my brain that like, then I'll stress them out. Yeah, then I'll tell them like, no, things look good. You think it look good, but it's not, bro. Let me show you that. So I didn't know that. Okay. Yeah, so this kind of thing.
You must have changed from the time you started this to now.
Oh, yeah.
Changed.
A lot. Yeah.
How have you changed, or how have you grown?
I become more cynical, more skeptical.
Oh no! But still helping people.
I think the cynical, skeptical part is, like I said, the insincere and sincere world part, right? On the other hand, I think one thing is I always think that the hardest thing is still soft skills. And on that part, I think I changed a lot. Yeah. I think one of the things is that in the past, I would tell everything.
Yeah.
I would tell everything, right? Until today, I still do tell quite a lot of stuff. I'm still pretty open about what I share with
You're
people.
not telling us how much you're earning.
Yeah, because my partner will be like, "Oi, gila, I went tell." Yeah,
Clickbait
yeah.
title.
So we don't do that, right? Yeah, but what am I trying to say is that, like, for example, there are certain things that you're not ready to do, then don't tell her, for example. So I used to be the kind of person where in a meeting, let's say I'll tell you, okay, let's sit down here, let's talk. Okay, so next 3 months we're gonna do A, B, C. Okay. Then I will start going to F, G, H, I, J.
Yeah.
So people feel very confused. Yeah. But my logic is, I already told you next 3 months we are going to do ABC.
Yeah.
Then 3 months later, we will explore IGH, right? Or sometimes it is in the meeting, I finish the meeting here after lunchtime. Then I'll say, hey, you know, as you are going to do ABC, right? Do you know after that, when you finish, you can do IGH? And they get so confused. And I always ask myself, what's wrong with you guys? Did I just tell you this is what we're going to do in the next 3 months? Yeah. And I learned that, no, communication is, as a leader, your words have a lot more significant than you were an employee. For example, if you're an employee, even if you're a manager or something like that, or just a supervisor or your colleague, you can go like, but I thought the day boss said this. Your friend won't be so moved on you. He'll be just like lo, you thought because you're my colleague. But if your boss suddenly walks out and say, why are you doing that? You will be a bit like, whoa. I thought yesterday you told me to do this, bro. Like, but actually your boss just wanted to say, why are you doing that?
Yeah.
Because he just wanted to ask further some other question. He may not even questioning, but because you're a boss. So suddenly you will realize that as a leader, you have to be very, very, very careful with your words. Yeah. So that's the one thing that I change quite a bit in terms of what I reveal, what I tell.
So a boss can never be friends with his colleagues?
I think that there is always a small boundary at least.
Yeah.
No matter how close you are with your colleagues. I mean, even here, my colleagues scold me, and sometimes my staff don't want to scold me, right? Yeah, but the nature of you being a boss, no matter how close you are with them, they will still know that you're a boss.
Yeah.
And that is important. Yeah. That is, to a certain extent, I feel regretful, but I think it's necessary because it also sets boundaries. All right. Like one of the things here is because we have 3 people, so I'm more relational. So I'll go down to the nitty gritty. Sometimes I even know like what's happening in my staff's life. Who do they like? What's going on in their dating life? They'll even tell me these kind of things. But then you become very, very close, ma. So then sometimes with that, like for example, if I know about a dating life, right, and then you broke up, I can't be so cruel and tomorrow tell you to do something, right?
Do work you owe me.
Yeah. Or like your performance drop, then it's okay because. So you see the complication there?
Yeah.
Because if I didn't know and I expect you to do, it's normal. But if I knew and I expect you to do, I'm not being a kind person. So those complications. So at least we have 3 people where we'll all play a very different role. Like CK is less, he doesn't want to know what happened in your dating life. If you tell him, he's not going to answer. He's just going to like...
blank face.
Yeah, he just doesn't want to respond to all those kind of things, right? Yeah, so... I'm the kind that I'll continue joking, I'll give advice, I'll talk, I'll laugh. Frankie is just being Frankie. He will have that surface talk with you, but maybe not go too deep, right? Then, but it's useful. Yeah, and for me, if I notice that if like it hits a place where like, whoa, it's going to get too personal, I will pull back also. I will just stop asking questions. I will stop going there and I will keep a bit of a distance, but I will still come and say, look, I'm not your father. So that's when that thing comes in. I'll say like, I understand that you're going through a tough time, but do understand that I'm not your father. So I think these are the things that you need to do to get out of this situation. But I'm not a therapist, so I'm not going to do that. Listen to you, probe you for question, help you find your soul, Sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm not going to do that because I'm not a therapist. I'm not a father. But I can tell you from what I've observed, you need to do A, B, C, D. Whether you like it or not, I'm telling you as a friend, as a colleague, as someone who cares. Yeah. Then I'll just stop it there and I'll say, are you okay? Let's talk about work. So if this goes on, then this will happen. Yes, because I know you're going through this, if you need a break, please tell me. Yeah, but if you don't need a break, then make sure you can deliver. So it's very clear expectations. Yeah. And that's why I'm not a father.
What if it's the more professional issue? For instance, hypothetically, Mr. Money was facing issues. You might have to close in 2-3 months. To what extent do you tell your employees? Right?
I will tell them even before we face that issue.
Well, they do have access to your numbers.
Yep, correct. I mean, they don't get all-time access, but I'm very transparent once they ask or like if I think there's a need to inform.
Yeah.
So like, let me give you an example. If I see our sales dropping, I would bring them in. I would tell them upfront, like, look, with these numbers, in a year, it will be this number. Then I will need to fire people. If you don't want to get there, this is what we need to do. Yeah. So are you on board or are you not? So I get your consensus even before that happens. Yeah. So I don't have to go there. Yeah.
But I imagine you can probably only do that when you're a small team. If you really grow,
that's right.
100, 200.
Nope, you cannot do that.
Yeah.
So that's why it's very important. Your first 10 to 20 hires, you are not hiring just people. You're hiring future leaders. And that's what you need to treat them to be. Because they are going to be your voice to continue on the culture in the company. If they can't follow that, it's better to forget about it. That's why you tell them 1 year ahead. Why you tell them 1 year ahead? That if things go like that for 3, it's very paranoid lah. Like just 3 months, sales drop a bit and come on, it's Hari Raya, or like something like that, right? So, but why do I do that? Because if you get too jittery about it and you decide to quit, great. You're definitely not the leader quality here. Yeah. Then I will tell you, congratulations, you found a better path for yourself. The door is there, right? And I'll celebrate for you because it's not that you're bad, but you don't fit. Yeah. That's all.
Speaking of future leaders, the future, what do you, and you also say A, B, C, F, I, J. I say the character. What is X, Y, Z?
For Mr. Money TV?
Yep.
I have to say in a very vague manner.
FGH.
Yeah.
I forgot. Sorry, go on.
I can't give you a very, very clear picture, but it's just very, very vague, right?
Yeah.
The reason why I can't give a very, very clear picture partially is because also I don't get a very clear clarity on that yet. Yeah. You know how visions are, right? So visions are always vague. Yeah. The clarity part is just this. To be the number 1 financial resource in Malaysia. Yeah, that will be the most clear part. Yeah. So our mission is to make financial literacy accessible to people. But I think that I'm still struggling to try to make people understand that financial literacy is more than just understanding money, but it's also understanding yourself. So there is more to money, more to money, more to life than money. I don't know how to phrase that word, but the point is that there's more to that, and a big part about it is how you live your life, your values, your perspective, how you design a life. Yeah. Because ultimately, money is just a tool to make you happy. You shouldn't get so riled up chasing it and forgetting about what makes you really happy. So if your deal is to build a family, to spend more time to raise your children, maybe an income of 20 to 30,000 as a family, moving over to Kedah could be a good choice for you. So money is just part of it.
Yeah.
It's a lot about life design, I would say.
Yeah. I heard from CK, I should ask you about Hershey's World.
Oh, that's why you know so much. Yeah, CK will vomit. Hey, hear me talk like that. You know? Yeah, the other day he heard this podcast as well from this another.
And you cried,
lady.
right?
Yeah.
Told me.
Yeah, so it's like if he, I was like, wow, if he will listen to the podcast, it must be quite good lah. Because he will vomit. Hear my voice. Hershey's Town, that is something that really inspired me. Yeah. The story was this Hershey's chocolate. Instead of like making life difficult for their people, paying them less, what he did was that he bought a small town in this unknown place. He created a whole economy for them there. It was during that time when there was no electricity. It was the first few towns where electricity has warm water and stuff like that. Ultimately, what he did is that whatever profit that goes to there helps to take care of the people as a trust fund, right? So Hershey until today is trust. It's a fact. It's run by a trust, right? And they even have orphanages. They have like children's school education and stuff like that. And ultimately, that's what I dream of. But I know that it's very too far-fetched, so I don't talk about it too much. Again, you don't go too far because people will be like, what the hell do you want to do, right? But deep down within me, that's why my challenge is to always tell myself that it's okay that you don't drive a Porsche. It's okay because ultimately, you want to make sure that whoever that's near you will get impacted. And that for me is more important than anything else. And one of the reasons why I'm willing to share a lot of things, I dangerously share sometimes, is because sometimes I ask myself this question. Yes, by not sharing, I may maintain that edge, but if I share this and someone get benefited from it, and if he is genuine, he can do well and he can help another bunch of people, will that be a better return than me just holding on an edge? Maybe. So I'm willing to risk it sometimes. Yeah. On the other hand is that idea that, yes, I may not be able to build a Hershey's Town, which save a lot of people, help a lot of people and so on, but at least every single one who works with me or partners with me is my Hershey Town. That's my idea behind it. Yeah, so sometimes I end up like the other day, I was just calling a few friends, telling them about like, hey, my client want to get these few things, right? And I think you are the right person for it. And they started asking me, are you an agency? I'm like, bro, no, man, I don't get a single dollar. I'm just, like bringing you in because I know that if go through agencies, sometimes it's going to take too long, So, and you get a cut and stuff like that. So might as well I just introduce you directly, then you get to earn more as well. I don't take a single dollar. Yeah. So, that's the idea.
Just before we wrap up, the biggest Hershey Town would be your two sons. How do you see them growing up to be? What would they, what kind of legacy do you leave for them?
I think for me, once again, if I talk about my audience, I don't really dwell on it too much because I don't want to get too disappointed. Yeah. But in brief general, it will be, they remember me as the guy who inspired them that there's more than just money. Yeah. And money is not that scary. So, but if really it's personal about what I am looking at, it will be about my family and friends. Yeah, people that are really, really close to me, right? Especially for my sons. I want to be remembered as a legacy that I dare to pursue a dream. That there's this courage to pursue a dream wherever you are in life, and it's never too late. And when you do it, you don't do it in such a way where it's a sky in the castle, but there's practicality in it, that you're doing it intelligently. Yeah, so that is something that I wish to, that really will be like kind of like my epitaph kind of thing, right? Yeah, but in terms of audience, it's a very general one. And because ultimately, if I just stop producing video 3 months, they'll forget me, put it this way. Yeah, we are all human beings, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But for my children, for my family, for my partners, I want to be remembered as a guy who will not stop pursuing for what he really believes. Yeah.
So next part, I have collected a lot of questions from you.
Oh, still a question? Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah,
wow.
from
You got a lot of work to edit, man, after
other
this.
people. Okay, let me play this first.
Wow, you're going to have a lot of hard time editing this. Yeah.
Here you go.
Hey, Mr. Money, how much should my net worth be if I'd like to retire in Malaysia?
ASAP.
ASAP. Okay, this kind of question, right? Usually it's very hard to answer because we do not know what's their age. We do not know how long do they have before retirement.
Young, she sounds female.
Yeah, and the more important thing about retirement is lifestyle.
Yeah.
So if you live a life that requires 100,000 a year, then it's going to be difficult, right? Yeah, but I would say a standard based on today, yeah, if you have no commitment or nothing, estimated if your monthly commitment is only about like 5,000 ringgit, you basically need about 60,000 ringgit a year to live on. And 60,000 will equal to a 6% of 1 million ringgit. Yeah. So, and 6% is a doable amount for retirement.
Yeah.
So, for example, ASB or even EPF is about 5+%. You plus a combination of a little bit of stock, you probably get about 6 to 7%, right? So, it means that you will need to have 1 million ringgit, then you get about 6 to 7%.
Yep.
Then you can retire comfortably here. That is provided your lifestyle is 60,000 a year. So if yours is 100,000, then you need 10 million. Yeah. So
There
that's
we
the
go.
idea.
Next question. You will recognize him.
Hey, Mr. Money, I'm Joe. I'm a big fan of what you do, so thanks very much for all the content you create around financial independence. My question for you is this: when you decided to take on the life of entrepreneurship, you took some big risks and decided to take the plunge, quit your job, sold your car, and went all in. What was that feeling like, and could you describe it to us as to your thought process behind the scenes?
First part.
Joe.
Joe Lee.
Yes. So looking back, it was very scary. Yeah. I would like to say that if you have children and you have wife, please try not to do it. But I just realized that, I've been doing it with my wife and kid.
Yes.
So the feeling is very scary. You're very afraid that you'll be disappointing the people around you if you fail. You're putting a lot at stake. So it is very, very stressful. So my advice, if you don't think you're mentally ready for it, don't do it. If you're ready for it and you do it, make sure you give every ounce of your strength into it.
Oh boy.
Also, I'd love to know what your advice would be for the younger people in a similar situation, looking to take the plunge, not quite sure whether they want a life of entrepreneurship, but what would you say to them? Thanks a lot.
I would say for the younger people, I think the easiest is just start with a side hustle.
Yeah.
Start with a side hustle that you enjoy. And yes, it means that, like I said earlier, if you don't think you have time for side hustle, you likely have no time for running a business.
Very true.
If you end up running a side hustle and you have your morning job and you just do all the way until late night, like what you did, right?
Yeah.
And you still love it,
Yeah.
then
It's inexplicable. You can't explain why. Suddenly you're like, wait, I've been doing 2 a.m.s for the past 3 years.
yes. If you still enjoy it, then great. Maybe it's the right thing for you. So my advice is don't plunge into anything so fast. Try it as a side hustle. Try it for 3 months. Try it for 6 months. if it works, people around you will also tell you that, hey, something different about you,
Yeah.
right? Like when I started this, in 6 months time or about a year time, actually, what happened was that my wife one day just told me like, yeah, things are tougher now, but I can see that you're a lot more happier. And that moment you knew that like, yeah, I think I've got into the right thing.
Here's another person with a question.
Hi, Mr. Peter. I'm Harizam Rain from House. I just want to ask, did you ever receive any extreme threats when you were exposing financial scams? Thank you.
No, we have not received any extreme threats, but at one point we talked about some wage gap issue, and we got a legal letter.
Oh, no.
We got a legal letter because the example that we used was
You named a specific.
I
company.
named an example which was everywhere in the news at the point, and
Yeah.
and he made sure that he sent everyone that. Yeah, in fact, right now he has a court case going on, and it's pretty interesting.
Wow.
Yeah, so but we decided to just let that go because it's not worth for us to fight for it. Yeah. So yes, when exposing names or big names, you may want to be a little bit more careful. Yeah, you can speak to Lingya, who will probably understand a lot more about the legal specifications of it.
Just don't say anything. You might win, you might be in the right, but the cost is really high.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Here's one.
Can you explain to the audience about your tattoo story? Like all the tattoos?
Okay. Yeah, all right. So I have a bunch of tattoos.
So you
1,
have to watch
2,
the YouTube video
3,
to
4,
see.
5, 6, 7, 7, 8. Yeah. So I got my first tattoo on my ankle. It was a Chinese word. It means grateful. It also means grace. Yeah. So it can be used as grateful. Can be used as grace. And that was how I felt at the moment. I felt grateful about things, or I chose to be grateful. I would say it was actually a bad time, but I told myself, you know what, choose to be grateful, and I decided to tattoo that. And the next thing I did is I tattooed a wave around it because I wanted to remind myself that you don't only become grateful when things are good, but when things are bad, when there's hard waves, right? And so that was the meaning of that. Subsequently, I tattooed this boxer,
elaborate.
this
Yeah.
fighter on my arm. I have this thing for old school tattoos. And so the idea of this was you keep fighting and you don't give up. That's why I told the guy that make sure you put some bruises on him. Yeah. Is the idea that life will hit you down, but you just keep getting up and fight. You only lose when you don't get up. Yeah. That's the only time you lose, right? So that was there. And subsequently, I tattooed the tiger, right? And this lighthouse. So if you notice, this middle section,
Yeah.
this upper arm, it's all land things. We live on the land. Tiger is the alpha animal of the land. The lighthouse is a guiding light on the land that guides both sea and on land as well. You know where's the beach, right? Now, down on my forearm and the back arm here, here will be where the sea element is. Yeah, so you notice that there's an anchor and there's an anchor and there's a what do you call it? A compass. Yes.
Yeah.
Again, it gives you stability and gives you direction. Right? So when you have a direction, you're also stable at the same time because you know where you're headed to. And then there's a word here, Psalm 139, verse 8. So this is one of my favorite verse in the Bible, right? Yeah, and here will be the ship. And on this ship here, again, is the alpha thing in the ship, right? As in, is battleship. That's the idea. So you're supposed to keep sailing forward.
Yeah.
You keep going.
Yeah.
You just keep going. And the last part is the eagle. Yeah, so the eagle is basically Eagle, right? It is always flying. It's the alpha animal there. It watches things very closely. It is sharp. It strikes at the right time. It soars freely, and sky is the limit, right? So that was the idea behind these few tattoos I have. Yeah.
Next question.
Have any question for Peter? My question would be, how do you see yourself in 5 years?
Okay. How do I see myself in 5 years? I hope that in 5 years the company will be doing very, very well.
8 figures.
Yeah, hopefully 8 figures. Yeah. And I get to spend more time with my family lah. Yeah, that's the thing that I want. Yeah.
Peter, what's your greatest guilty pleasure?
Oh man, that's a difficult one. Guilty pleasure. I think binging on TV series. Yeah.
They say a lot of rich businessmen have poor taste in food. For example, Warren Buffett, Donald Trump love McDonald's. So for you, Mr. Rich, Mr. Money, what is your favorite food?
And these are, for people who are listening, your employees. This is Adam.
Yeah, that's why. What's my favorite food? I have to say probably pakute.
Mr. Okay, and this is Matt. We talked about Matt.
Will Mr. Money TV become MNC?
Oh, hopefully.
Hopefully. Okay.
Hopefully we become regional players, huh?
Final question from Maxine.
Why every time you have to cough so loud, and then you every time cough, you give me heart attack when you cough?
I don't know lah. I need to see doctor for that.
And that's it. All the questions for other people. I normally wrap up with the same questions. So the first is this. Do you feel like you have found your why?
Yeah.
And what kind of legacy you want to leave behind?
To be a person who lives to his fullest and always pursuing for it. Because why do I say that is, I think a lot of people have the idea that the why is a destination. For me, the why is a process.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it is about a daily pursuing, but yet at the same time contented. Yeah. So that's the idea behind.
And what are the most important qualities of a successful person?
The ability to give. Or how many people around you that is impacted by your life. I think that's the most important qualities of a successful person.
And where can people go to find out more about what you're doing, follow you, support you?
Definitely our YouTube, Mr. Money TV, and Instagram, Facebook, Twitter,
LinkedIn.
TikTok, LinkedIn, yeah, all this.
Okay, I'll drop all the links in the show notes. Anything else you'd like to share?
I think for everyone here, if you are still wondering what is your why, I don't think you're going to figure it out sitting in the basement wondering about it. The best way is actually go out and try things.
Yeah.
And as you try new things, you learn to fall in love with the new thing, or it just piques your curiosity much more that makes you willing to spend more time on it. Then it's worth pursuing. But as you pursue it, do remember that you will get bored. And that is very normal. Because just like learning piano or any music lessons, you will notice that grade 5, grade 6 time, it's boring time where you're just going to hone in your skill set even further. And it's only going to get exciting when you hit that grade 8, grade 7, because that's when you start learning new things again. So if you always give up when things are going to be boring, then you will never ever find that why. Yeah. So these are the two things.
Before we wrap up, since you are the ultimate YouTuber that I know, we obviously are going to put this on YouTube. We need a thumbnail. We need a title. What do you think it should be? How should we brainstorm it live?
So usually for us, it's a lot more analytic.
Yes, I'm sure.
We will take a bunch of our old pictures and see which one have the most click-through rate and what are the commonalities behind. But so far, I do realize one thing. Big images of the host does create more click-through, especially if you are a very host-oriented kind of show.
Yeah.
So your face will be very important.
Oh dear.
Yeah, and your face with exaggerated emotion does help. Yeah,
So I guess we have to take it now.
an exaggerated emotion does help together with the guest.
Yeah.
Guests, unless that person is very famous, but generally, again, it still works. Needs to have both person,
Yeah.
and literally is a big face. It is usually not half body shot; it's big face. That's why you see all YouTubers have this. Only the neck part coming out, right?
Yes.
Like some people don't even see their necks. Literally, that's what statistic has said. It does help with the click through. The next thing is that you want to have less words, not too many words. Yeah.
So what expression should we have, Mr. Money? Since thankfully you are famous, so I don't need to worry about it.
What kind of expression? What will your title of this video be?
That was my next question. What is my title? My tentative title is I am not your father.
Okay.
Does that work?
I would say no.
No.
Yes, yeah,
Gosh,
because that wouldn't be
Means nothing.
So your title has to always be something that within the first 3 minutes or 2 minutes of your video or 1 minute of your video, I kind of answers that title. Yeah. So it will depend on your editing later. Yeah. If you edit it in such a way where the first thing that comes in is who's Mr. Money, then maybe you want to pick out something about a combination of who am I and what they can get out of it by watching this who am I, right? Like for example, from eating leftover food to building a successful media company.
A successful 7-figure.
Yeah, something like that, right? Because your first section answers what my family background is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but if let's say you decided to cut that I'm not your father part all the way to the front, then yeah, maybe you can use I'm not your father.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It could be both as well.
Yep.
On the thumbnail.
So it will kind of up to your decision later.
Oh my. Okay. Now everyone know why all these themes come up. Perfect. Well, that's essentially it. Thank you so much, Mr. Money, for your time.
Thank you very much, Lingya.